Well, welcome to today's episode of Wesley Live. I am so excited today to introduce Stephanie Riebe. She's with us today. Now, Stephanie has been an employee at Wesley Seminary, and she's also an alum of Wesley Seminary. So welcome, Stephanie. It's great to see you today.
Hi, Joel. So good to see you again.
Happy Easter Monday.
Great.
Well, and one other thing about Stephanie I didn't mention too, she's also an author of one of my favorite children's books right here, Haley's Heart. We may talk about that a little bit later, but Stephanie, so as I mentioned, you worked here at Wesley Seminary and you've transitioned into the role of Director of Family Ministries at Mount Olive United Methodist Church here in Marion. And how long have you been there at Mount Olive? And maybe could you tell us a little bit about that transition and how
So I just kind of backstory. I came to Wesley Seminary staff after serving, in local churches as a youth and family pastor for about 12 years. That's all I had known before I joined the staff at Wesley and was able to serve on the admissions team for just under 2 years. But my heartbeat is the local church. And so I had really been praying in the time that I had moved to Grant County. I worked on staff at Wesley about 6 months before I moved to Grant County. And so when I, made that move and stopped commuting from Fort Wayne every day, I felt God started to preparing my heart and pulling me to be back in a local church full-time. So I started full-time at Mount Olive as Director of Family Ministries at the end of October.
Oh, wow.
So, not really that long ago in the hindsight. And so Mount Olive is located, help me with this, Joel. What corner of Grant County would that be then?
Kind of northwest corner?
Northwest. Okay. So we really, we definitely have families from, the Marion community, but we also have a lot of families that come from Oak Hill schools. So that's the Sweetser, Converse, Swayze area. And that was really a part of the county I wasn't as familiar with going out there. But, the God thing is that I had just moved to a home on the north end of town last spring, not realizing God was just preparing me to start ministry in that part of the county. And so it really does feel like my home, where I'm supposed to be serving. And Mount Olive has been such a special place to dive back into family ministry. It's been a new shift for Mount Olive. Families have always been a priority there, and they have a really rich history of generational ministry. But we went from a staff with a full-time children's ministry director and a full-time youth ministry director to one full-time family ministry director, which is my role.
Wow.
And so I'm navigating ministry from birth through high school. So, so really the span of families, we had 2 families have brand new babies back to back just over the weekend.
Oh my.
And then at the same end right now, I'm working with high school students who are navigating the loss of the rest of their senior year and really special trips, prom, things they had really been looking forward to. So I work with both ends of the spectrum. And then the heart of that is for our church family to come alongside them and partner really as the mentors and pastors for these children and kids. So it's been a whirlwind of a 6-7 months, and now to be in the middle of this time.
Well, yeah, you mentioned that. I mean, the ministry that you're doing, that's such a vital ministry to any church. And, coming off of Easter Sunday, which is such a busy time for any children's or youth pastor, So could you share with us, with COVID and all of that that's going on, how are you doing it with your ministry? Obviously, there's been a big change since you've started there at Mount Olive
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
new restrictions. How can you share some encouragement or just things that you're
Yeah.
finding work well?
I think we're all trying to figure it out. And when I say all, I mean everyone in full-time ministry right now, pastors, children's pastors, youth pastors, family pastors, um, the staff that take care of the buildings and work on the administration, and we're all trying to figure it out. So I'm not so sure there's just one path, but I know in the beginning, in the early stages, I think I was, back mid-March, I was a little bit in denial of like what a big shift it was. And so I thought, oh, I need to come out with a ton of content for families to make it through the next 2 weeks, right? I need to do everything I can, like content. And then after we got through those first couple of weeks, I started to realize, wow, families are overwhelmed. They're grieving right now. Some are dealing with sickness and illness or dealing with being away from people they love. They're navigating working from home. They're navigating not being able to work at all. And they're also navigating e-learning for their kids. And there's a big shift in doing like e-learning for a snow day or a planned e-learning day. And then all of a sudden trying to get work done and your children at home. And I had a conversation with a family and they work in the medical field. And so they're still going to work every day.
Wow.
And, just sensing, just being overwhelmed and navigating this, I realized, my job really doesn't need to be to create a ton of content to push at people. My job needs to be to listen and to support families and where they're at and what they need. We really put Deuteronomy 6 in front of us at Mount Olive and family ministry. And so much of that from the Shema is my heart for families right now, to realize like, it's okay if you can't do the scripture egg hunt. It's okay if you didn't have time, whatever, fill in the blank. Just the little habits, praying with your kids before meals, talking about that it's okay to be sad about missing a spring break trip or missing a school play, that God cares about our sadness, that he holds us in that. Certainly we've been trying to offer programming and curriculum to our families, but more importantly, just picking up the phone and calling people, checking in every day. If there's a family with experiencing illness, knowing you can have a pizza delivered, or just those little things to me, I've decided are more important than figuring out a really polished program right now. Is really pouring into the relationship. So, and that looks different for every context. Some contexts have a youth or children or family ministry staff of 5 or 6 people. And so they can probably divide and conquer, a really polished online ministry, or divide and conquer a really effective outreach right now. As a family ministry staff of 1, and I have a really supportive senior pastor and preschool director and worship director and admin support of our church, but we can all only do so much. Right. And so, for me, it's just really relationship building during this time, which was already a big focus of this year for me already. I'm getting to know these families. I mean, this was going to be my first Easter with Mount Olive. This is my first summer with Mount Olive. And so everything, I have to be fluid right now to understand that it's not so much about my agenda or the plans of our family ministry team, but being more open to just what our families need and the encouragement they need to feel the love of God right now.
That's so powerful. And you mentioned summer. I mean, summer, you basically take summer off as a youth pastor, right? I mean, there's nothing going on, no
Always,
camps or
always.
VBS. Well, that's a
Just
crazy,
somewhere.
yeah. So
Yeah,
with everything up in the air, how do you tackle that looking at
yeah.
summer?
And honestly, Jill, I'm not really sure yet.
Sure.
One thing I was really thankful that we decided as a ministry team a couple weeks ago was that we weren't going to make a ton of long-term decisions and plans yet, because we have already seen other ministries doing that and then having to go back and cancel again. And that's part of people's grieving and pain right now, is to have things rescheduled. I mean, I felt it personally. We had to reschedule a family trip that we've been looking forward to for a long time,
Oh,
is to know, like, will we just have to cancel this again? And I don't want to add that on people's hearts and radars. The families have to make their own decisions right now about all sorts of things. And I think, most of us understand a family vacation in the long run. That's the bonus stuff of life. That's, the small stuff. But those things feel like big things right now, especially for people who are working really hard to social distance and are isolated. Something to look forward to really helps. And so we haven't made any concrete plans. I'm trying, thankfully, our vacation Bible school was already, our save the dates for that are mid-July.
Oh, okay.
So we've decided it's too early to make any changes there.
Sure.
I'm trying to think about what would that like 2 nights instead of 4 nights. What would that like being entirely outside? I'm trying to think through some of those things without making concrete plans yet. The camping ministry that we partner with right now is, I think, also waiting, but they have said to families, they'll give last minute refunds if a family decides even, 2 days before, come June or July, no, this isn't the best decision for them. So it is hard. I'm a planner.
Yeah, I know. I remember that.
And I love the big things. I love the events. We've really been looking forward to a lot of special things this summer. And so just to be patient and wait is hard, but I know that God's also pruning me in that. And also will help us maybe be a really good steward for ministry in the fall. That's really what I've sensed him preparing us for, is a way to really be prepared to serve our community in a way we weren't anticipating before all of this come the fall. So that's what I'm trying to tell myself in the midst of being, I think I'd probably be as disappointed as, some of our families if we would have to cancel some of those things. But thankfully, this was a year we were off from an international mission trip.
Oh, really?
So I know some youth pastors right now are really struggling with having to get refunds. And thankfully, this was already, our senior pastor was supposed to have be on a sabbatical this summer.
Okay.
And so our church, that was going to be our theme for the summer Sabbath. And so we did have, we had already made some decisions to have a little bit of a lighter summer anyways. And so I see God going before us with some of that. We had already decided back in January that this wasn't the year to do confirmation. And I see now how God was going before us in that. And so I'm just praying that for clarity over those decisions. We want to make wise, safe decisions, but we also want to be able to connect with the body as soon as we can, in different ways. So it's a balance. I think every church, every ministry has to kind of decide for themselves right now what's best for their community. But thankfully, we have a lot of kids in our community that are affected by 4-H and the farming community. So we have already said, June isn't a month where we're going to plan a lot of things, just of the DNA of who we are. Mm-hmm. So as of right now, I don't have a bunch of June cancellations to consider. So that's something that we're thankful about for sure.
Well, that's great. So yeah, lots going on, and I know lots of our students and alum are dealing with the same thing. So thank you for sharing that. And
absolutely.
I know you're a real planner, so I wondered if you were handling that. And
yeah.
Hey, as I mentioned earlier, I happen to have my copy of Haley's Heart right here. Would you share a little bit about Haley's Heart? And I think these are available on Amazon. Is that right?
Yeah. So Haley's Heart is a really special project that came about while I was serving at Wesley. So it's a children's book that I wrote, and then Savannah, the illustrator, is one of my former students. I was her youth pastor in Indianapolis from 2010 to I was there until 2016, but she is a senior at Butler, so she's missing her last semester. So she did all the beautiful art in the book. And it's a passion project about my friend Haley, who passed away at the age of 19. And so it's just a special way to honor her. And it's a special book about just helping kids understand that, God speaks to their heart and following your heart. And I had several people, it's always fun to see the ways people pass it on. And it was, I think, in several Easter baskets yesterday. And so it is on Amazon, Joel. You're my best cheerleader.
I truly love it. It's a very sweet book and very touching.
Yeah, it's been special to see. It's made its way into a lot of elementary school libraries, a lot of church ministry libraries. It's written in a way that it can, be shared in public schools, but also, Haley was a believer, and so she loved the Lord, and so you can also tie her testimony into its message too. So thanks for sharing it. It's special to me, and it's been a special way to continue her legacy.
It's a special book. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. Very sweet. Well, thank you for your time. Steph, thank you enough. It was so good to see you and connect with you. Thanks for agreeing to come on today and share some of your experience and expertise with us. And we're so proud of you. You worked here, but you worked, before and now in children's and family ministry. And we're so proud of you and what you're doing. And we miss you, but we know that God's got you right where he wants you.
Yeah. It was good to be with you today. Thank you so much.
Well, you too. Well, could you join me at the end here? I usually finish these out by saying, we are Wesley and you belong here. So I know you've heard Dr. Durr say that lots of times. So you want to end this one and say that for us?
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
Is that right now?
Yep.
All right. We are Wesley and you belong here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Steph. Blessings.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.